we have Andrew Callahan, of course, from the Boston Herald, as he is every week. He is here. And a lot of controversy over Jerod Mayo after the game. In your opinion, did he throw Van Pelt under the bus when they were asked about using May on a quarterback sneak in a 4th-and-1 situation? And him, what did he say? He said, I don't know.
You said it.
You said it.
I didn't.
You said it. I didn't. What's the deal with that? Is he throwing people under the bus? Is he spiraling? What's going on?
That was my interpretation. Full disclosure, I was not in Arizona, some family stuff this weekend, so I was not there in person. But I don't know what the other interpretation could be. And I think we know it was this egregious because you think about Alex Van Pelt in a game that we all look and go, what was that play calling performance? And no one's talking about it. We're talking about the guy who called him out, who is his boss, because that's how bad Mayo's mistakes were. They were worse than the mistakes we all agree the Patriots should have called something different on 3rd and goal at the 1, on 4th and goal at the 1, and then throughout the game where they're just throwing screen passes for God knows what reason. That's how bad this was. That's my interpretation. I don't know how many people disagree. I'm sure they're out there, but there's a reason he walked it back because it was the wrong thing to say.
We were talking earlier about how even though he's a first-year head coach and can be excused some mistakes in his maiden voyage through this, he's not getting better. He's making these same mistakes over and over and over again. And even though I was one of the many people that thought, you know what, there's no way Robert Kraft will fire his hand-picked replacement for Bill Belichick after his first year, I've begun to see thought pieces and articles pop up. Mark Daniels has one this morning. Mayo, according to Mark, seems to be coaching for his job these last 3 weeks, and it's unfortunate because they play 3 very tough opponents.
Well, they're going to lose
last 3 weeks.
Yeah, they're going to lose those 3 games.
They got 2 against Buffalo home and away, and they got the Chargers in the middle. And for those people who haven't been paying attention, Chargers pretty good.
No, everyone knows they're not winning those games. So, is he coaching for his job? I guess is the question.
I wouldn't say coaching for his job and that you have to go out and win it, but you can't lose it. And I think the scenario that a lot of us, I don't know if this includes Mark, but I know doing TV with Tommy Kern, speaking with guys like Burt Breer, we were all in agreement going into this Arizona game. The only way that Jerod Mayo loses his job in year 1, handpicked 5 years ago by Robert Kraft, is an abject disaster down the stretch. You got 4 games, 4 boxes to check for abject disaster. Mayo just checked one. And it wasn't just that you lost 30-17. Again, we all expected them to lose. They're in the neighborhood we knew they would be in at this point in the season. But it's the way that you're losing and the way you're throwing fire on this, the gasoline on this fire with your post-game comments. So that's where I land. And I've never been closer to believing that's a possibility either. I think it's just going to take more. And like you said, how do we expect these last 3 games to go? Badly, right?
Yeah, they're going to lose. But Vrabel, see, to me, Vrabel justifies everything, because if you bring Vrabel in, obviously his connection to the team, the retired or whatever jacket situation, and then the idea that he's had success as a head coach, that he's established, that I think you can do kind of in unscathed almost. You can go look, we're bringing in Vrabel. When we told Jerod about the job, we had no idea Vrabel would have been available. When they told him about the job, not when they officially hired him, but when they promised him the job, who knew? Vrabel was having success in Tennessee. Who knew that he would be available? Da-da-da-da-da. Now, if you fire Mayo and here's where it gets tricky. If you fire Mayo and you bring in another guy that's never coached, been a head coach, and halfway through next season, he's making mistakes and screwing up, now you're in on it. And you could say, well, Fred, what if they threw a bunch of money at Ben Johnson? We don't know if Ben Johnson's going to be a really great head coach. I mean, there's innovative. Arthur Smith's done miracles as an offensive coordinator in Pittsburgh, and he was an average head coach who got fired in Atlanta. So being good at one, the defense, Flores, the
defensive coordinator in Minnesota.
No, and then my guy,
Vic Fangio.
Vic Fangio is a great defensive coordinator. He was a terrible head coach. So we don't know. What are your feelings on that?
Yeah, I think the important point here is that Jerod Mayo in most off seasons heading into this one, the bar to clear to be, can you prove that you can coach, or we have some belief that you'll grow into this potential? Because someone asked me this in my podcast yesterday. What's the reason for keeping Jerod Mayo, not hiring Mike Vrabel? And I said it's the same reason you hired him in the first place. You believe in the potential, right? As him as a head coach. And you give him all of the grace of you're hired here a year earlier than expected, and you're in your mid-30s, you've only coached for 5 seasons, and some of the confidence in that potential, surely, even for ownership, has to have been eroded. But the bar now is not just to say, can we figure out if this guy coaches, which I don't think is fair to say after 14 games as bad as it's been. The bar he has to clear, in my opinion, is that he can coach as well or better than Mike Vrabel. That's a problem because we know how well Mike Vrabel works as a head coach. You mentioned Arthur Smith. Not only did Mike Vrabel get them the number 1 seed and make the playoffs a couple of years ago, after that, he hired Arthur Smith as his first offensive coordinator. Then he hired Matt LaFleur, okay, or vice versa. But either way, those guys were NFL head coaches. They were good OCs. And right now, when you look at the Patriots and Alex Van Pelt, deserves a ton of credit and is not working with much with Drake May. They're one of the worst offenses in the league. They have been all year. So it's your ability to coach and hire staff around you. We know Mike Vrabel can do that. We don't know if Jerod can.
Yeah, and that's the big negative. Like, I can see Mayo struggling this year and that it's not going to get better because the point is like, and Hardy made the point too, is that you're preparing the preseason basically if you're the Patriots for the first game of the year. And as the season goes on, these other teams are getting better and the focus is there and everything else. And I can see him spiraling at this point. What I don't understand, and I think Jerod Mayo eventually could be a good head coach somewhere with more experience. The thing I can't understand with Jerod Mayo is that he was in the NFL for a long time. He obviously is well connected in the NFL. How he didn't have the connections and a plan to surround himself to guard against the weaknesses. You got to know your weaknesses, and you got to put people in place. Like, for instance, Hardy can do stuff I can't do. That's why I wanted Hardy. There's things you got to have that awareness. Go ahead.
I think I have the answer, though. Jerod Mayo wasn't allowed to pick his staff, and now he's being scrutinized to a much greater extent than a lot of coaches are, certainly than Bill ever was. So how much say did Jerod have at the beginning? How much say does he have now? Because it seems like there's a lot of people watching over him.
So I do think the level to which ownership is involved is as more than it has been for most of what we've experienced the last 25 years. And maybe it matches what Belichick was enduring the last couple of years, because I reported Belichick would have gone into 2023 with Matt Patricia as his offensive coordinator had the Crafts allowed it. They didn't. He picks Bill O'Brien. Everybody moves on. I think, though, the answer is simpler than what are the politics in the office and how much sway are they applying pressure, are they dictating, whatever it might be. We don't know that. I don't know that. I can't report on that. What I can tell you, though, is I think Mayo is suffering sometimes from a bit of arrogance in the way that he carries himself and the expectation going into that job about who I can hire, who I can pull. Come work here. I represent the 6-time Super Bowl champions, where people in the league that I talked to who were close to the interview process for the offensive coordinator job were like, I didn't get a great vibe there. I don't think they're particularly organized. I don't know the support that I'm going to have. And that guy's only been coaching for 5 years. So it's great. He was a good player. It's great. He's been a part of and driven a lot of success there. But that doesn't mean it's going to translate next. And I think Jerod goes, I'm an incredibly confident, talented, natural leader. Of course it'll follow. And people don't buy in. And I think that's your mistake, is overlooking your own weaknesses or not seeing them the same way that you and I do.
And I think it's more fair than unfair. If you're trying to represent yourself as the person, the face of the 6-time Super Bowl New England Patriots, other candidates would look at that and say, no, the two faces of that are gone. They're out the building now. If someone's going to come up and present themselves as the face of that would have been Brady and Belichick. Other players, sure, but no, that's a tough thing to put out there and say this is who we are.
I wouldn't even think that you would have to sell it. I think you would have it done. Like, I think that you would have had it done. You would have known. You would have said, had a verbal agreement, the connection to go, you're going to be my next guy. Like, I'm going to bring you with him.
But if he got surprised a year early, maybe he didn't have that stuff in place.
It shouldn't matter. You should have networked and have that group and those guys that you know.
Mind. What if I become? I mean,
and have talked to them. Come on. He wanted to be a head coach. He knew he was going to be the head coach. Have the conversation with guys and don't be spinning your wheels.
If and when it happens, here are the 5 guys I'd call immediately.
Not if and when. I know it's going to happen, and when it happens, here's what we're going to do.
So who do you think he should have talked to? Maybe not specifics, because I look at this right on the outside and go, his network is just limited to New England, And there are a lot of people that have come and gone to better jobs when he's been coaching.
But what about, I mean, his agent? I don't know who his agent is. Who does his agent represent? You know what I'm saying? There's networking that you can do. But my thing is this, is that if they keep Mayo, I think that he's got to bring in a Peterson or like McCarthy, that he's got to bring someone in that's had head coaching experience, like an Arthur Smith. He's got to bring in someone that's been a head coach. They got to pay him an assload of money and go, you're second in command here. Like, you're joined at the hip.
But the problem was
teach me how to do this.
They tried something like that. His name is Ben McAdoo. Not exactly a great
come on,
head coach.
John. Peterson and McCarthy are decent NFL head coaches.
Of course, but that's the point. They even did that poorly. They tried that and did that poorly.
I was going to say, I don't think you should be kidding. That's exactly what they did. Ben McAdoo was one of the last hires to their staff.
I know.
And that was the experience. Well, here's the other part, though. What you just described is sell someone here to come in year 2, where let's say Mayo survives, and I think that's the greatest likelihood. Like the way we're talking about if this and that. Jerod Mayo, I would bet almost anything, will be the Patriots coach February 2025. You have to come in with a potential lame duck head coach, and then, as you said, get paid an ass load of money. Does that sound likely that a person would A, take that offer, or that B, the Crafts would extend that to that assistant coach?
I don't know about the Crafts, but if I was the Crafts, I would. If I'm McCarthy or Peterson and I'm getting paid already by, I don't even know if McCarthy is a lame duck coach.
Yes.
Okay, so
but
McCarthy,
it looks like he's going to go back.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, but I think he's going to go back. But if I'm Peterson and I'm coming off that Jacksonville thing and you'll pay me a lot of money and my job is to babysit Mayo and it's an NFL job that pays a lot of money, I'm taking that job. Why wouldn't I?
I don't think Peterson's going to be busting for job interviews after today.
Or even if he is. Like, no, he's not going to be busting for a head coaching job.
That's my point.
But he'd take a coordinator job. Of course he would. I think he would, right?
Again,
I don't think there's any doubt that he would.
If you outspend other people, yes.
Yeah, and Mayo's inexperience, if I'm Peterson, would be a plus for me. Because now I'm ingratiating myself into this franchise. Now I want to be with him.
Is he a good coach, by the way, though? Like, the Patriots can't be picky. Let's be clear about that.
Peterson is not a good coach. Peterson has been an effective NFL coach that seems to have some institutional knowledge of how to run a team. That's all I'm saying. And you're not asking him to be a great. I think he's a great coordinator and probably a great mind to have as your co-pilot, as that's available now. Yes, I think Peterson solves that. I don't know. I don't like that Jacksonville situation too much for anyone, to be honest.
And honestly, outside of that Super Bowl year, which is a lot of heavy lifting in that suggestion. Oh, outside of that one year, they won the freaking Super Bowl. Pretty underwhelming. Yeah. Even some culture stuff. But it's interesting because he might be, as you suggested, the first two people that came to your mind are two coaches that in those markets, Dallas and Jacksonville, nobody wants. Right. And you're going, they can fix what's here in New England because it's that much worse.
But you're not asking them to do what they did in Dallas and Jacksonville. Right, you're asking them to do what got them the jobs in Dallas and Jacksonville.
Be a Jim Caldwell. You need to clone Jim Caldwell. The man's been doing this for 2 decades. I like
Jim Caldwell should not have been fired by the Lions. All right, Jim Caldwell had a winning record with the Lions, and they got Patricia, who alienated everyone literally the first day he was there. All right, we'll be back with more Andrew Callahan as we're running very late, but it's the holidays. Who cares? We'll be right back.
More.
If you like that clip, and how could you not? Check out more videos from Toucher and Hardy here. Point slightly up and to the left. For more Patriots analysis and opinion, hit this playlist. Point slightly down and to the left. And for the latest from the Sports Hub, download at 985thesportshub.com.